Hey, you guys, welcome to my headphone rig essentially. I'm running the Black Ice Fusion F360 as a headphone preamp to the STAX, and as you can see, I got rid of the god-awful dongle adapter that I built that went from STAX to Koss, and I bought a new STAX connector from the Moon website. I'll put a link down below. And finally I got no problems, no issues. And I also actually did have a problem for the last 3 years. I had wired one of the channels out of phase on that adapter and didn't really realize it because I'm not using the headphones all the time. And I went to another website to get the wiring for the Koss STAX adapter, and I'll post a link for that as well. For anybody who's got, well, now it's been discontinued. You can't get the Koss 95X with the shitty exciter box anymore. That's been gone for a couple of years now, and I don't think it's going to be coming back. But, you know, again, this Koss setup was a great introduction to electrostatics. But the big issue was it never had enough oomph in the bass region. It never had enough presence in the mid-range. You know, it wasn't. It was always a little thin sounding, even with the STAX 007 TA hybrid amp. I mean, it was that still steps ahead, way better than the piece of shit exciter box that comes with the Koss originally, the one that I tried to modify and blew up 3 years ago. Anyhow, so putting the Fusion 360 in series with the STAX also being fed from the BAT preamp. So yeah, I've got a lot of volume controls going through here, so I had to be really careful not to overload things. But because these Koss headphones need so much drive, you know, it essentially, with the BAT set to 100, the PS Audio volume set to 50, the STAX is maxed all the way out, and so as you can see is the F360, and it just works. One thing with electrostatics, not so much, I guess with the speakers too, right? Whether it's Martin Logan or I think it's Jansen up in Utah or Nevada, anyhow. The problem with electrostatics is if it sounds like shit, it's fucking shit. I mean, if it sounds great, it sounds beautiful through these headphones. Give you some quick examples. I ran the MoFi Excitable Boy LP through this, and it's so overloaded it's not funny. And I tried backing off on volume controls, and I'm like, I was hearing things that I didn't like. Through my speakers, it's fine. But through the headphones, you hear everything. And the other thing too, with these electrostatics especially, when I listen to LPs, man, you hear all the surface noise, you hear the groove noise. You don't hear it when the music starts, but you hear it in the beginning, and obviously you're going to hear it in between tracks, which is a little annoying, but again, that's how resolving these things are. I mean, for cheap introductory electrostatic headphones, it's insane to put all this through it just to make them sound good. But when you got the toys, you might as well use them, right? So really, you know, as far as the Fusion F360 as a preamp for the speakers, I'm working on that. I've had this thanks to Jared and Jamie for lending me this for so long. I haven't set this up using the Black Ice F100 amps like they did at the shows. I'm planning to do it when I come back from the F1 race in England, which is another cool thing that's going on. My son and I are heading out there on Sunday. So when I come back, what I want to do is I want to set this guy up with the F100s, and there's something that I noticed between the Orchard Audio GaNFET Class D with all the capacitors and the F100s. Anytime I do a customer swap, when I got to check, you know, make sure that everything's working properly, everything's in phase, but for some reason, the F100s pull in my phantom center, especially for vocals and things, or anything that's mono, pulls it into the center so that it seems like it's coming out of the Heresy 4, even though it's not, right? With the Orchard amps, I don't get as much of a focus center, and you know, synergy is everything. What I'd like to try is when I come back to see if I can focus that phantom center using the dimension knob that you see above the headphones there. And that's the other cool thing with the circuits that Jim Fosgate designed and that Jared implemented. What you see going on with the LEDs is this preamp can actually run 4 channels, just like they did at Expona last year. I can run the 901s, and I can run the Klipsch's in the front without the center channel speaker. And that's been on my to-do list for a while. I still haven't done it yet. But what I really want to do is see if I can get that phantom center to work well with the Orchard amp. And, you know, to see if, yeah, a real tube input like the F360 can fix that phantom center issue that I'm having, you know, by using it to drive the Orchard below it, and of course to use it to drive what it was meant to drive was the F100s. So it's a pretty cool preamp. It's only got one set of balanced inputs. It's got several single-ended inputs and outputs, and obviously it's got a pair of balanced outputs in it. I believe, I don't remember if they're true balanced or if they're pseudo balanced, but at the end of the day, I'm not getting any noise, I'm not getting any hiss or hum or anything coming through the headphone rig here. So it works really well. And the display is cool. You can obviously you can turn it off, right? There's a display on off switch here, right? You know, but it's cool because what happens is, even if you're listening in stereo, where that says back on the bottom LED, it's to give you the impression that you're hearing something from the back of the headphones or back. What I'm finding is, play through those electrostatics, they don't sound like typical headphones. And you see how I've got the dimension cranked all the way to the max? At 0, it's kind of like a standard default kind of thing. Minimize the dimension, and basically what you've got is almost mono-like presentation. You still have the stereo effect on the left and right, but the mono really, really is locked in. And the other thing that I noticed too is, and what I love about this is now, if you look at the tone controls, which I normally hate tone controls, but every forum review that I've read, and basically with my own experience, is if you want to liven up these electrostatics, give them some tone, literally. And you can tell the settings I've got where I had to really be conservative with the bass output, and with the high, what they call the high EQ and the low EQ. High EQ, obviously, it didn't need much, right? I mean, the electrostatic headphones are detailed as it is. But with the low EQ, I was able to bump the bass up just enough to right before the point of getting overloaded. And huge difference between the EQ bypass position and the EQ on position. But again, you listen to bad recordings through those headphones in this whole gain stage that I've got going here, and good recordings sound phenomenal and bad recordings sound even worse. So, you know, the Excitable Boy was one example. There was a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head. But in general, if I played a really good recording, it's absolutely amazing. You know, amazing sound quality, and I get to enjoy my headphones again in phase, you know. And I used Uncle Paulie's DSD test disc that I bought a few years back that you saw in the demo for my I2S adapter, the one where I did the built-in. So really, guys, that's the video. The F360 is available on the Black Ice website. it's one of those things where you've got to try it before you buy it. If you go to Z Reviews, they did on here, it's a little more in depth, right, than what I'm doing here. I'm basically using it in my application, which is primarily for headphones. When I do speakers with it, I'll follow up with this video very quickly, and I'd love to see if this thing can actually give me a focused phantom center, because I'm gonna set up the Black 901s, the 1968 ones. I want to set them up and see if I can get a phantom center, because Bose actually had a circuit that did something similar back in the stereo receiver that came out in the late 70s that they did. Not only did it have the Bose EQ, but it also had this stereo expander circuit, kind of like this, where you could make it really big or you can make it really small. So, gonna have some fun with this. It's a great little preamp. If you watch Z Reviews, which I'll link to, also in the bottom here, he did a really good review of this, and it's not going to be for everybody, right? I mean, for me, functionality, my bat preamp, I've got all balanced inputs, true balanced in and out. Obviously, this also comes with a remote control, but it's very limited. Whereas the remote control for the bat, I can change inputs, I can change volume, change phase, I can mute and all that stuff. Whereas with this guy, you get a basic volume up and down, power on and off, type of scenario, which is fine. I mean, for some people, that's all they need. And in my case, I control the volume using the DAX. So that's basically the review, I guess, if you want to call it that. And my final cleanup of my headphone rig here, and you can see all the dust collecting on the shelf there. But hey, man, this is a real rig that I'm not going to candy coat how I maintain stuff. You can criticize it all you want. Everything still works. I know that was an awesome drum solo, but listen to me babble for the next 5 minutes. Anyhow, guys, this is the follow-up video for my Lin LP12 thoughts after over a month of ownership. Relocated it from up in the cabinet to down below here. Got the cheap IKEA table. I forget the name of the stupid thing, but anyways, as I said in the last video, you got the pot holders to kind of dampen some of the resonances, the packing material from the Calyx cabinets. All this crap really works, and no issues with the subwoofer underneath it. I already put it through the bass tests. Again, mentioned that in the previous video. But at the end of the day, now I can actually flip the records over without having to pull them up before the lid closes and all that stuff. And tonight is actually the first time I'm playing LPs with the lid off, and I'm kind of liking it because I've got the blue cover for this. I might just put the plastic away, and maybe just put the cover on top, but I'll figure that out later. Anyhow, with the Benz micro cartridge, I haven't had any oopsies. It's been running really good. Haven't had any issues with the turntable or the Lingo power supply. The only thing I had to do was relocating it down here. I didn't want to bring the phono preamp down here, and have a short interconnect between the table and the input of the preamp, and then a long interconnect going back out into the back tube preamp there. So I had some straight wire music cable left over from when I did the Dolby Atmos runs for both the Onkyo going to the inputs of the Emotiva amplifier, and also for the LFE channels line levels, which I've got running underneath the carpet here. So I still had a lot left over, and I basically took what was left over, cut it in half. I had some monster cable RCA connectors left over from some other whatever crap I was doing, and basically chopped off, because I didn't want to go inside the internal wiring here. That would have been way too much, so I just basically clipped the ends off the existing Lin cable, and just direct soldered the music cable onto the LIN, made sure that the ground was all connected properly, and it worked. And I had enough cable to fish back into the preamp, so but yeah, it was quite the ordeal having to fish the wire through again through the wall. And as far as having super long RCA interconnects, audibly, no difference than the factory length that ran into the preamp when I had it up in the rack. And I know certain friends of mine really shit on having XLRs in your stereo rig, which they're in the recording and professional stuff, whatever. So they tend to poo-poo all using XLRs in your rig, which to me is bullshit. I mean, I like XLRs. To soldering them is a lot easier than this RCA shit. I hate soldering RCA connectors. Always have, always will. But it worked. It looks cool, and it's a lot easier to get to. But that's basically the video for tonight, guys. See you once we land in jolly old England on Monday. And again, happy Canada Day. For those watching, today was the 1st. It's now the 2nd. And then happy 4th of July on Tuesday there, guys, to my American friends down here. That's it, guys. Short little ramble there. Bye for now.